There we go. We are live, guys. Welcome to another edition of the sessions. Today, we are going to be talking about the Karnataka elections and the results of the Karnataka elections. It's been a bit of a crazy day, crazy evening. So I thankfully have a very capable person to help me through it. Please welcome to the show, Kishor Narayan. Kishor is a mobile industry professional with experience in smartphone product development. He's born and raised in Karnataka, and he has a deep passion for analyzing the state's politics as well. So thankfully, today's episode is in very capable hands, and I'm happy to have Kishor on the show. So welcome, Kishor.
Thank you for the invite, and yep, excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, let's get cracking. So I'm really this was a very, like we were just talking about before we went live as well. This was a very interesting day. This was a very mad day, and I feel like the Congress could, like you said, you were mentioning this before, and I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on this as well. Like the Congress, as soon as they started realizing that this was going to be less than the 111, 112 mark, the Congress sniffed blood and they really went for it.
True. Yeah, I think they learned their lessons from Goa and the other places.
Right.
They didn't want another Digvijay happening. So so yeah, they had sent out two national level observers, leaders, call what you may, Ghulam Nabi Azad and Ashok Gehlot. So
Right.
they were in Bengaluru since morning, and they were eager to pounce on the opportunity, and the opportunity did come their way. And they were quick enough to tell that we would give unconditional support to JDS, and they should be able to form the government. And from then on, it was a kind of a one-way street for JDS. The offer was too good for them to resist, and they picked up the offer.
Right, definitely. So let's look at the results as well. So BJP's got around 104 seats, which is a pretty solid. I mean, which is a really better performance from 2013, where they had around 40. The
Yeah.
Congress went from 122 in 2013 to around 78 this time around, and the JDS didn't have too much of a difference. It went from 40 to 37. But yeah, it was again very close, and I feel like a lot of people have been saying on the news that it is the greater kind of Bangalore area that could have been the make or break area for BJP, where I think the BJP underperformed. Do you share that view?
In a way, yes. Uh, in all the other major regions of the state, BJP had comfortably crossed the halfway mark within that region.
Right.
So, for example, you have a Mumbai, Karnataka, which has 50. BJP had comfortably crossed 25. Central Karnataka was a sweep for BJP, coastal as well. Bengaluru again, 26. Out of 26, they were hoping at least about 16, 17, 18. That didn't happen. So I think that was where losing out on about 5, 6 seats actually mattered. Probably if they were stuck at around 109, 110, then JDS and Congress would not have ventured doing this. But 104 and 112 is quite a distance away.
Definitely. And I was thinking about that as well. And the coastal Karnataka one was a very interesting one for me as well, because they'd focused on that, and they'd focused on how there's been a lot of religious violence and murders of BJP workers and RSS workers in Karnataka, and the BJP had focused quite heavily upon it, and they've done really well. And this is a massively improved performance from 2013 as well.
Indeed. Actually, 2013, one should remember that BJP had an anti-incumbency back then.
Right.
And although they didn't have a coastal chief minister from the coastal area, the split in the party and all the bad blood actually damaged them more than what they had anticipated. So it was a sweep for Congress back then.
Right.
But post 2013, things actually went quite bad. There was polarization. There was daylight murders happening. The situation just kept going from bad to worse. And yeah, it was quite expected that BJP should be able to capitalize on that. And what they did was they also brought in Yogi Adityanath, the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister, to campaign extensively in coastal area, in addition to a few other areas. So I think BJP actually had used this strategy in Gujarat, where they had pulled in Yogi to campaign in a few swing seats, where the seats could not be taken for granted, and that actually worked for them in Gujarat.
Right.
And we all know how close Gujarat elections were.
Yeah.
So I think they repeated it with respect to Yogi. They wanted to try it out once more, and it kind of worked out for them. Although I don't have data on all the constituencies right away, but I overall I get a sense that it has worked out for them,
Right.
and they also kind of did that in a few other regions as well. So coastal area, yes, it was a complete sweep for them. Thankfully thanks to Yogi, and basically based on the underlying chasms that were in terms of religious communal disturbances.
Definitely. And what would you say with the Siddharamaiah thing has been very interesting because it was in a large part Siddharamaiah's efforts that had brought Congress to power in 2013, and it was a lot of his work over there. You would say as well, but right now, like a sitting chief minister losing one of his seats and winning the other seat just with by the skin of his teeth, kind of. Uh, it does Congress get to what I'm basically asking is, does Congress get to take any kind of uh, moral victory in this? Because there's been a lot of noise from them saying that oh, democracy has won and fascist forces have lost, and all the regular chatter that you hear.
Well, Congress will claim a moral victory even if they get one seat. So,
Right.
so
That's true.
let them do it
Yeah.
when they get 78. Nobody stops them. But then on a more serious note, you are right when you say that Siddaramaiah actually started out on a very powerful position in 2013. He was the undisputed leader in Congress
Right.
who could unite all the factions within the party, although he himself was an outsider, and he had taken on the might of the Reddy brothers. He had successfully conducted a Padayatra from Bengaluru to Bellary. All these were prior 2013. So he was able to position himself as the numero uno within the party. And thereafter, the first 2 3 years were not exciting, or basically it didn't even appeal to the core Congress audience and the core Congress voters. Even they were even they had lost out all hopes on him. And what happened in the last 2 years were the spree of Bhagya schemes,
Yeah.
socialism at its best or worst, whichever way you look at it, whatever bias you have, and that was followed by I think it was just about 1 year prior to the actual elections, when Siddaramaiah embarked on a statewide tour of about close to 50-55 days, where he went on a spree of all these new inauguration of new projects, and
Right.
he would absolutely, I mean, he would just do a ribbon cutting, and he would say that we would do this program, but essentially they were not accounted for in the state expenditure. So he was able to use those rallies and campaigns and the tours all over the state as a launch pad for the campaigning that he was about to embark on. So in every rally, he kept making political speeches, although they were government functions. So that was how it all started. He kind of started misusing the government machinery to further his political career, not only of him but also of the party. So
Right.
that was how it started. But then, because he had started out so early, so well, and he had all those Bhagya schemes, and he had kept his core voter base untouched and unimpeded. It all worked well for him. And the BJP had a task to work on. They had no clue earlier,
Yeah.
although Yediyurappa did similar. statewide rally. I mean, honestly, it was always a come from behind kind of a victory that BJP were looking at. If you're a cricket watcher and as old as I am, you would remember Robin Singh doing all that dirty work for India.
Yeah.
India would be 190 for six, chasing 250 to 60, and the only man you could trust was Robin Singh back then.
Yep.
And it was something similar. BJP had to pull some rabbit out of the hat, and they had already accounted for Yogi and other star campaigners. And the only way that probably they could do was in terms of bringing in Modi at the last minute, hoping to kind of shift all the narratives away from whatever Congress had started off with. So I
Right.
think that was a calculated move, not overexposing Modi earlier than they wanted.
Right.
And when Modi came, he came on the 1st of May or the 2nd of May with hardly 8 to 9 days, and their calculated move was all about carpet bombing. He
Right.
told the state only he can, in a manner only he can, and addressing three rallies, four rallies a day in the heat, in the summer
Yeah.
heat of India. And by the end of it all, you could realize that even Modi's throat was aching.
Yeah.
You could figure out by the way he was talking.
Yeah.
So that was the kind of carpet bombing they looked at, and it almost worked for them. So to move from a 40 to a 104, just hair distance away from the majority halfway mark, I think they came pretty close.
What do you think the BJP was able to do well in this election and in this election cycle and over the past, 5 years, from that absolute debacle in 2013 to being, like you said yourself, just a hair breadth away from clinching victory here?
Oh, I think there were quite a few takeaways for BJP, and make sure and pretty sure that Amit Shah will take each one of them. Point number one: BJP, KJP, BSY Congress, they were all split. They all came back. They ensured that the vote share or the vote split that happened, they all merged seamlessly back to BJP. So that was one major victory for them. In all the chaos, it is easy for the voter on the street to get disenchanted with BJP and go elsewhere,
Mhm.
maybe to a JDS or to a Congress. But they didn't let that happen. And the other thing was to gain ground back in their old bastions, coastal Karnataka, North Karnataka, which includes Mumbai Karnataka and Hyderabad Karnataka, and also to effectively checkmate Congress in the game that they were playing. I'm referring to the Lingayat issue.
Right.
So basically, Siddaramaiah started out thinking that he would be able to split BJP's core voter base, and BJP was able to defeat Siddaramaiah in his own game, and I think it worked for them. So all this, and in addition to that, I think the unified Hindu vote also mattered to them, and I think that worked in a way. Although not every caste voted for BJP,
Right.
but overall, I think BJP would be happy with whatever they've got
I think the
under the
vocal leaguers
circumstances.
went quite heavily for JDS, right?
True, true. In old Mysore region, Mysore and the other parts in that region, JDS voters and other Vakaligas have rallied behind JDS completely. So much so that in a district called Mandya, which used to be a Congress den,
Wow.
it was a complete sweep for JDS today.
Wow.
7 out of 7 for JDS. And
What would you say that is due
Rahul,
to? What would you say that was due to? Sorry.
yeah, basically there has been a major infighting within Congress in Mandya. Point number one. Point number two, again, Siddaramaiah was perceived to be a anti-Vakaliga chief minister. So Vakaligas didn't want to let go of this opportunity to teach him a valid lesson. And also, again, Kaveri issue, whatever. Mandya people would want to have a say. in Bengaluru, so that they will ensure that they get good bargaining for any issue that they have. And in the current administration, they did not have that. So I think all those mattered. And just a small tidbit, small
Sure.
trivia. Divya Spandana, the IT head, IT manager of
Yeah.
Rahul Gandhi, she actually represented Mandya Lok Sabha constituency not too long ago. So,
Well,
so it's now very clear that uh, Congress's strategy of occupying the mind space within social media is actually happening at a cost, and
yeah.
that cost is they are losing on the ground.
Right, right. That's one of the important things as well. That's a very important point that you brought up, because a lot of people say that, Congress has been on this charm offensive or this social media blitz. And they ever since, that whatever Twitter video he posted of his dog, people have been saying that Congress has been on this social media offensive, and they've been gaining many followers online and this and that and all that stuff. But I've always wondered, I don't live in India at the moment, so I've always wondered that how much of this translates to the ground and translate on the actual ground where the actual votes matter. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that's something I've always wondered about.
I think what we are seeing right now in terms of Congress upping their ante in terms of social media presence amounts to quite a bit of noise. May not be completely noise at the moment. They might be making the right kind of noises, but it might all wither away come 2018 or early 2019. Simply because it might not be easy for them to maintain the same kind of uh, and also BJP will definitely have a counter strategy in terms of how they would want to reclaim the status of being social media champions. So I think we are in for an entertaining last half of 2018
Oh,
and also
definitely.
early first half of 2019.
Definitely. And the interesting thing is, my next question would be, what would you think that the BJP should or would take away from this performance in Karnataka into going into the big assembly elections coming up in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and then obviously the big daddy in 2019?
Interesting. Actually, I think these are two different sets of ball games. Karnataka
Sure.
was something where you would have to beat the incumbent and get back to power. That did not happen, but I think BJP would still be in a happier position because they can now change the narrative. And Modi was talking just a few minutes ago, and he was quick to pounce on the opportunity to tell the people that, you know what, people are with us, we are with you people, but opposition has now ganged up, and they are going to create unwanted divides, north and south, Hindi and any other language. So they will keep doing it, and you will see more and more efforts put in by the opposition to do the same over and over again. Uh, and I think with that, he is now going to change the narrative completely, including in places like West Bengal, Odisha, maybe even Andhra to an extent, although they are on a huge back foot. But I think that's what they're going to do. Uh, that way, I think they will add on to whatever they have in terms of achievements of 2014. But coming back to your 2018 December polls, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, I think the difficult one would be Rajasthan.
Agreed.
Vasundhara Raje would be a difficult pill to swallow for Amit Shah. It would be interesting to see if Amit Shah would back Vasundhara Raje, but looking at the situation right now, it might actually be a tough call.
I agree with that as well. And, I completely agree with your assessment that the hard one is going to be Rajasthan in this case. Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, there is still a fair amount of goodwill towards their leaders. But it's Rajasthan where even among, the BJP, there are still doubts. There's still some animosity within the BJP towards Vasundhara Raje as well. So that's going to be a tough nut to crack for the BJP. I mean, to get to kind of ride out that anti-incumbency wave there. That's going to be a tough one. One of the things that I was wondering, and one of the things that I've been reading, is about the BJP trying to find greener pastures in the south and trying to kind of expand in the south. And uh, it's often the people that oppose the BJP, even Siddaramaiah, like you said yourself, brought up the north-south divide and said, "Oh, BJP is a party for Hindi speakers and not for any other regional language speakers." So one of the things that I noticed that BJP had been trying to do in Karnataka is kind of have more local roots and show a more local image. A lot of the projects that they were looking to name if they came into power were going to be based on local figures. There was a lot of local kind of focus on a lot of the programs that the BJP was looking to do as well. Do you think that the BJP have been any successful in that recently? Whether it's this election, whether it's in the past, whether it comes to more states in the south in the future, do you think that the BJP has been doing well on that regard?
Uh, I'm glad that you brought out that question, and I have a reason for that. When
Right.
Yadurappa was the chief minister, he actually started celebrating Valmiki Jayanti,
Oh wow.
and he even declared Valmiki Jayanti as a state government holiday. So that was one way to ensure that the Valmiki community would not continue to remain alienated. So these are the small attempts that they have made over the past 5 to 10 years, and that definitely has helped them. So if you see, probably once the data is out, the detailed voter share and community voting patterns and things like that, you will definitely see that scheduled tribes and other OBCs, a few of them, have definitely voted for the BJP en masse.
Oh
And
wow.
these are the small things that actually matter in a heterogeneous state like Karnataka, where diverse regions, diverse communities, it was difficult to get all of them onto a single bandwagon. But definitely, BJP has made those attempts, and it has worked to an extent. And
And sorry.
in terms of whether it would work in other states in the south, probably no, simply because they don't have a past track record to show about, and the narrative against BJP in these states is quite strong. So BJP will definitely start from a -20 or a -30 rather
Okay.
than starting from nil or 0 or 5 or 10. So right now the tide is against BJP in all these places. But we have one interesting by-election coming up in Kerala. I think it's end of the month, and that should be one interesting fight to watch out for. All three parties, the LDF, UDF, and BJP, I think are somewhere around the 32, 30, and 25% vote share mark. And that would be one place where Amit Shah himself would be going to campaign.
Oh
So
wow.
that, again, even if 25 becomes a 28 or a 29 for BJP, Amit Shah would take that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting because what you mentioned is very true earlier. You said, it's going to be BJP is going to try and use it to kind of project it as a battle of us versus them. And we were talking just before we went live as well, and that Mr. Modi mentioned that in his speech about the West Bengal panchayat elections, and he was talking about the absolute, just the way Mamta Banerjee has handled herself and Bengal in the
Right.
past few years, ever since she's come to power, and the way she's handled the panchayat elections as well, and the insanity that has ensued under it, and he made sure to point that out, so you know where his strategy is, you know where his head is at right now.
Indeed. And once Mamata was able to come back to power, a lot of actually asking Modi why is he not raising issues about violence on BJP workers in West Bengal and even in Kerala. And I think it was a measured silence on the part of the BJP top brass. And I think now you will see a completely all-out battle, complete attack on the part of Modi and Amit Shah, and that way they would take the attack directly to Mamata Banerjee, is what I feel.
I agree, and that's
So
something that I've
that
been.
would actually,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So that would actually give them a complete 2-year period where they can actually use this narrative, use the anger of the people against Mamta, and that would actually help them electorally come 2020.
I agree, and I think this is such an important point because I've always been wondering that one of the things that a lot of even BJP supporters, one of the points that they've had against the BJP is that not enough noise is raised and not enough voices
True.
are raised from the top brass, like you mentioned about all this violence that is happening against BJP workers that are putting their lives on the line for the BJP across the country, and a lot of people were feeling, when is that going to happen? And I've always felt that this is because it is such a serious issue, and because this is such an issue that resonates so strongly with people across the country, and that is why I feel like Modi is almost keeping it like an ace in the hole. And as soon as 2019 comes closer, 6 or 8 months away, or even like a year away, they might pull out that card and be like, this is one of the most serious issues that people have been worried about for a very long time. And it's important that we bring it up. It's important because it fits also kind of within the us versus them. Because it's usually when you see around the country, usually there are, of course, differences to it, but usually there tends to be BJP workers and RSS workers that are found in dangerous situations.
True. I think everybody knows that electoral violence is definitely coming down across the country, and Modi wants to use that and wants to tag it to his development theme, development narrative. So he would definitely bring it back and link the violence that has erupted all over again in West Bengal, and clearly tell that, you know what, electoral violence has no place in 21st century politics, and that it is a direct impediment to development. So I think that would be something that he would definitely aim for.
I agree. And, I remember because I'm from Bihar originally. So I remember when I was a kid, my dad and we used to watch the TV and we used to see the kind of violence that unfolds during elections. And Bihar was infamous for it across the country. That's what Bihar was known for, all those booth capturing videos from the 1990s. I remember all of that stuff when I was a child. And so, yeah, you're right that it has come down. And I think that's something that Modi can use as well. Like, look, it has come down, but look at the states that BJP doesn't control at the moment, and look at the level of violence there, and look at the level of violence in BJP controlled states. I mean, it's almost a day and night difference between BJP controlled states and West Bengal at the moment. If
Right,
you look at
right.
it at the moment, it's absolutely ridiculous. So I think that's a strategy that they're definitely going to use as well. It's just going to be very interesting to see what happens in Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, and Madhya Pradesh.
Yeah, I mean, only Amit Shah and Modi can answer this. But if they bring in some kind of an ordinance to postpone Rajasthan elections, to couple that with 2019 general elections, you never know. You never know what goes on in their minds. So
True. That's an interesting idea. I hadn't thought about that. That's very interesting.
anything is possible.
Definitely. I think anything is possible. And I think that is like definitely possible with Rajasthan because that's probably their biggest worry. If BJP loses Rajasthan just before the 2019 elections, that's going to give a huge shot in the arm to Congress. That's going to give like a huge boost for the Congress within the people. And
An
then
actual
even
moral
though,
victory.
sorry.
An actual moral victory for the Congress.
Exactly. And then, even though Rahul Gandhi has destroyed everything he has touched, he's the opposite of Midas. So even though he's destroyed everything he has touched, but if you even want just one state and lose 20, people are going to focus the attention on that one state.
Oh yeah, we have already started getting WhatsApp jokes today here in Bengaluru. A person who got 38 has got the first rank. The person who got 78 got the second rank, and the person who got 104 has got the third rank.
Wow, that's unbelievable. It's
Yeah,
absolutely unbelievable. And but that's how these things work. And I think one of the other things that I feel that had happened in Karnataka elections, and that's been happening in elections for general. And this is kind of a broader question. This is not a Karnataka-based question, but I've always felt like even when I was reading the manifestos of both parties, there's just such a strong freebie culture in our politics right now. If you
Yeah.
look at the manifesto of Congress, if you look at the manifesto of BJP, they're both guilty of this, just full of freebies. And I think that is giving people things for free necessarily going to solve these problems long term. That's something that I feel like I saw a lot of in Karnataka, everybody offering freebies. And I feel like that needs to change. I'm not 100% sure how quickly that will, but I feel like that really needs to change because number one, where's that money going to come from? And number two, is it really going to solve the problem?
I totally agree. And in fact, I would want to show you this. I don't have that map.
Right.
And the reason for that is I belong to the RR Nagar constituency, where the
Okay.
election has been postponed, has been deferred, simply
Oh,
because simply because 10,000 voter ID cards were found in an apartment, and the Congress candidate has been accused
right,
in the case that is being investigated right now.
right,
So I totally agree. I think both parties are actually left of center in this regard, and they are unashamed about it.
right.
And if you go and talk to them individually, not on record, not on camera, everybody tells you that fighting elections is a costly affair. You
Yep,
need to spend money. You know that the rival candidate would also come and spend money, and there is no guarantee that the voter, after having taken money from you, would actually vote for you. So this is a big gamble that these parties are taking, and since they have gotten on to the tiger, they don't know how to get down. So I think it's that kind of a situation,
right.
and sooner rather than later, they need to find a way out of it.
No, definitely. I agree with that as well. And coming back to Karnataka, we were talking about kind of the BJP's future in Karnataka. After a good performance like this, what does the future for the BJP in Karnataka hold? What would you think that the BJP can do better? Or do you think that this was a pretty decent performance and they just kind of need to go with what they're going right now?
There are two ways to look at it.
Right,
A pessimistic or a realistic view of it would actually tell you that BJP has kind of reached a peak, and the reason for that is Yediyurappa is the lone mass leader for the party in the state. Remove Yediyurappa, and the BJP cadres and the voters may not rally behind one single leader. So there may be a leadership vacuum for the BJP in the near future post Yediyurappa, whenever that happens. And if and when Yediyurappa may not form the government tomorrow or day after, whenever, then I think that's the golden opportunity gone for him. And he would also cross the golden age of 75. So that may be his last opportunity and it would have gone. So I think post that, BJP will have to find a younger leader because all the other older leaders are all tested and failed, so to
right,
speak. So you will have to find somebody else. And Modi and Amit Shah do not hesitate in finding a controversial leader, bringing him to the limelight. So it can happen. But then another way of looking at it, an optimistic way of looking at it, would have to be to capture the old Mysore region.
right,
Vakaliga votes are there for the taking. Yogi Adityanath belongs to a Nath tradition, and there is a hugely popular Nath tradition mutt here in the old Mysore region, and all the Vakaligas, or at least the majority of them, do listen to whatever comes out from that mutt. So I think that kind of a link can be used, and it has already been used. You have already seen Yogi Adityanath coming to the mutt here, spending quality time with the mutt head here. So all that has happened, but I think it has to be taken a step further and go hammer and tongs to the Vocaligas to tell them, you know what, we are ready to embrace you, and we would want you to embrace us. So I think that would be the glass ceiling in the actual sense. And once that happens, five out of 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6 regions, even if you perform badly in one or two, you would have an additional gold Mysore that would actually act as an insurance policy for you in any forthcoming assembly elections. So I think that may be one thing that BJP would definitely look out for.
And do you see any l- local leaders emerging for the BJP from Karnataka? Because, like you said, the tallest leader, of course, that I know of from the BJP from Karnataka is Yediyurappa. But apart from that, do you see any leaders emerging?
Um, yeah, I had two names in mind when I actually told that. One would be the controversial North Canada MP, Anand Kumar Hegde. He is already a minister in the central cabinet,
Hmm.
and he is known for making controversial remarks, and he is unapologetic about it. So again, like Yogi in UP. So that he would be one face to watch out for, and another would be MP from Mysore named Pratap Simha. He
Hmm.
actually belongs to the Vokaliga community,
Oh wow.
so he definitely would be one person to watch out for. And he is young. He is quite active on social media. He is quite popular in Mysore during his term. He was a first-time MP, remember, and he was actually a journalist, a Kannada journalist, and Modi picked him to fight from Mysore. He won his very first election, and then he has been able to actually stay popular all along. So Pratap Simha and Anand Kumar Hegde can be two names that I can think of at the moment.
So do you think that in the Congress in Karnataka, a party can get both Lingayat and Vokkaliga communities, or is it just too hard to bring those two communities together to vote for a single party or a single candidate?
It has been a recent phenomenon. When I say recent, about 35, 40 years,
Okay,
when this fight began. But I don't think that it would be impossible. People definitely listen to Modi here, and if Modi can actually talk to the Vocaligas in whichever manner, I think that would be a real possibility.
right.
And I know quite a few Vocaliga friends myself who openly tell that I would vote for Modi in a central government election, in a
Hmm.
Lok Sabha election, but in a Vidhan Sabha election, I would not vote for Yediyurappa. I would vote for Kumaraswamy.
Interesting. That's very interesting. And so that kind of leads me to the next question as well. With in terms of local leaders, you talked about a couple of local leaders, which I think are very good picks that you've picked out as well. Do you see, and this is again asking a bit too much of you because I'm kind of venturing into other states a little bit, but do you see any other local leaders sort of emerging from other southern states that could maybe help the BJP gain some ground in that area, in those areas?
Too early to tell.
Okay,
And the reason being, as I told you, the anti-BJP narrative, the anti-North narrative, has really gained a strong foothold in the past 12 months, 18 months. Although it is not palpable from Delhi or the Hindi media, it is actually stronger than we give it
right,
credit. So I
right,
think it would be a difficult bet.
right,
So again, BJP would have to do something really out of the box. Maybe get somebody like, say, find a real gem like Dharmendra Pradhan in
mm,
Odisha,
mm,
and really handhold him, tutor him, and once he has proved his worth, then push him into the akhada of Odisha Vidhan Sabha election in 2019. So you will have to do something like that in Andhra, in Telangana, in Tamil Nadu, and even Kerala for that
right.
matter.
And I wanted to take a couple of questions from the audience as well. So Puna Mabbi was asking, and kind of CH Billy, they've been referring to this in the chat as well. And you just mentioned it as well. That's why I thought I should bring it up about the because when you from North India, if you listen to the North Indian media, generally speaking, they'll talk about how deep this divide between the North and the South is. The Aryan Dravidian divide, so to say, that they call, and they can't stop talking about it. And you kind of alluded to this a little bit as well, and we've kind of talked about it throughout this chat a little bit as well. Is that how, like you did talk about how deep this divided or how deep it isn't, but how deep, what has been the progression of this divide kind of in your mind, and where do you see this kind of going in the future?
See, it does not matter how the divide had shaped up pre 2014.
Right.
The narrative now is all that Modi came and Modi started this divide. Although it might seem silly, it might seem foolish, but the narrative is that.
Okay.
And that is where the local BJP leadership, the state BJP president of Tamil Nadu, of Kerala, of Andhra, they are simply unable to handle this.
Right.
So when somebody like say Vaiko in Tamil Nadu, or Sriman in Tamil Nadu are bringing this out. Again, BJP leadership has no answer to this. So every time they run back to Delhi, they keep taking the help of Delhi leadership. But then people in Tamil Nadu or Kerala, they're not ready to listen to the BJP leadership of Delhi. So
Right.
that is where there is a definite vacuum, definite gap, which needs to be addressed and needs to be addressed quickly.
Right. What according to you would be the best way to address this?
I think you need to really find a grassroots leader, which is not happening. So I think if I am Amit Shah, I'm not Amit Shah, but if I am, then I would definitely,
Sorry, Kishore, I think you disappeared for a second there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think I'm back now. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so I think Amit Shah or whoever would have to look at this from a long-term perspective. Even if they lose one state election, or even if they lose Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra all at once, I think they should not lose heart, and they should actually look at the second or the third Vidhan Sabha election from now,
Right.
maybe a 10-year time frame or a 15-year time frame, and that might actually help them.
It's good. Good. And Kanishk is asking, do you think the JDS Congress alliance will hold?
It is for them to make that work. But you know what? All the JDS, most of the JDS victories that you see today are in areas where they were in a direct fight with Congress.
Right.
So the MLAs will really have a tough task trying to go back and explain to the people who voted for them
Yes.
as to how and why they actually shook hands with the Congress. Right? No matter how much you tell that they were the ones who offered the support, I mean, there is no doubt about it that the vitriolic, that the bad blood between Congress and JDS in the old Mysore area was there for everyone to see.
Right.
People were abusing each other left, right, and center. Booth level workers, village level workers, they were looking at it as a D-Day battle. So
Right.
this would actually tough thing to work on the ground. So I think at the leader level, they might want it to work at least till 2019 elections. Somehow they would want to possibly even look at a pre-poll alliance within Karnataka. So beyond that, I think it does not matter to them. Even for Congress, they would not want to be seen as supporting JDS for 5 years.
Right.
So I think all those subtleties do matter.
Yeah.
So it depends. It depends on how it all takes off.
Another interesting thing was that we saw was, I think Krishna Rao brought this point up, and he said that uh, that women tended to vote more for the BJP. That the women vote really went for the BJP. Is there any significance in that at all? Do you see any significance in that?
not seen that data
Right.
personally,
Right.
but I did see somebody point it out. But then within the Vokkaligas or within the Lingayats, that would not be a surprise for me. But if it actually happened in the ST or the scheduled caste communities, then that would actually be a surprise.
Right. Okay. And Utkarsh is asking, is there any credibility in the defection of Lingayat members from the Congress? I don't think that's happening, is it?
I don't think that will happen right away.
Right.
I think BJP will want to use this as a victim card. I think they would be okay with it. They would not mind losing the Karnataka battle, and they would want to showcase it as losing a battle only to win the 2019 war. So I think they
Right.
would not try too hard, and also they would want to portray all the negatives of the coalition government for the next 1 year, 11 months, whatever is left of it, and they would want to maximize their returns out of the 28 seats that Karnataka has to offer. So I
Right.
think they would play the game
Right. And so let me ask you this before we wrap up. I think we've done a pretty good job of kind of doing an overview of the election. So let me ask you this: what how how good of a position do you think the BJP is in today? I know this is a hard question to answer, so you can give me any answer you want. How good of a position do you think the BJP is in today for 2019?
Oh, I think they are in a strong position.
Okay.
And in fact, I had also written about it. Uh, Remember, Rahul Gandhi will have to find a safe place to actually contest.
Right.
And he cannot contest from the Hindi belt. He will have to go to a Congress state government, wherever that is. It can be in Punjab, it can be in Karnataka, or it can even be in Rajasthan if they win Rajasthan, if and when. But if they want to look at Karnataka, then I don't think that is going to happen.
Mm.
Today's results have actually shown that. So I think Rahul Gandhi will think twice to even come here to contest. He cannot come here and tell, you know what, my dadi contested come here,
Yeah.
won here, and I am back here.
Yeah.
I am one of yours. So I don't think that is going to work. So that way, I think if the leader of the opposition, the leader of the opposition pack, is basically searching for a safe ground,
Right.
I think that speaks volumes about the disarray that they are in.
True. True, that's very true. And what do you kind of think about the talks? Before I remember 2014, even after that, they were talking about Mahagathbandhan and creating this giant alliance against the BJP. I feel like again, if they try and do that, that might work against them. If they try and create this Mahagathbandhan against the BJP, it might work against them just like it worked against them in 2019. So I don't know if they're going to try and go for it.
Exactly the reason that I quoted old Mysore,
Hmm.
where JDS workers and Congress workers were actually up in arms.
Hmm.
Would they actually mend fences within 1 year? I
Hmm.
definitely don't think so. Would a YSR Congress and a TDP or even Pavan Kalyan's party have that kind of a Gathbandhan in Andhra? I don't think so. So I think on the ground it may not actually work. Although at a leader level, they might actually want to portray that it is working. People are fed up with the Modi government. People
Hmm.
want a change.
Hmm.
That might be their narrative. But on the ground, I don't think it would work.
Right. That's fantastic. Hey, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's breakdown of the Karnataka election. I really want to thank Kishore for coming on today because I think his insights were very, very useful to me because a lot of the stuff that you talked about, Kishore, I didn't even know. So it's been a bit of an education for me as well. And a lot of people in the comments have really enjoyed your insights. So again, thanks for coming up and doing this today.
No, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come here and share my thoughts with you. I enjoyed it. So yeah, thank you.
Definitely, and that's the important thing. I think we had a good conversation, and I think I'd love to have you on the show in the future and talk some politics again as well.
Definitely would look to it.
Fantastic. All right. Again, guys, thanks very much to Kishore, and thanks very much to you guys as well for coming on the show today. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to check out subscribe button down below and subscribe to us. Leave us a like if you enjoyed today's episode as well. I will give you Kishore's Twitter information in the description below, so you can go follow Kishore as well. Again, thanks very much for watching today. I'll see you next time, and until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you soon.